Hey, so welcome to another reading vlog. This week, hopefully like a relaxed week, but also a fun week. I don't know. We'll see what actually happens. As far as reading goes, my main focus is going to be reading Neverworld Wake by Marisha Pessl. So this is a book about people who end up reliving a day where one of them died or something. As usual, I don't really know. It does kind of match my hair nicely. I will be mainly reading this. I was going to be focusing on reading this, but I didn't get to this last week like I was planning. So what I've realized is this is just long and I'm not excited about reading it in physical form. So what I'm going to do is I found out the audiobook hold list at my library isn't very long. So I've put a hold on the audiobook instead and I'm going to listen to it instead of reading it, which I'm much more excited about doing. Also means I can return this to the library and not worry about it. I will also try and finish off the Death Note series because that shouldn't be too difficult and it will make my brother happy with me, since it's not very long until he moves to Australia. So I really should read these, although I think actually he doesn't even want to have to bother with them at the moment because he's got too many other things to worry about, like moving country. It's kind of stressful. I don't know if I'd ever want to do it. Also, audiobooks. What am I listening to? So currently I'm listening to Oversea and Understone by Susan Cooper. I should finish that off today-ish. Then I have the audiobook for Kabu Kabu by Nydia Okorafor. And looking at this book, I've realized it's not even deckled edges. It's like ripped edges, which would totally piss me off if I was reading this physically. So I'm glad that I decided to pick that up in audiobook instead. And I almost hope I don't like it so that I don't want to keep this book because I hate pages like that. And then also this week I do need to read The Vanishing Stair by Maureen Johnson before it returns itself. So that's the sequel to Truly Devious, which I read a few weeks ago. So I'm excited to read that. And that'll pretty much be my reading week. It's quite a lot to read anyway. I always feel like I'm trying not to be ambitious, and then I look at what I'm doing to myself and I'm like, really? That's your version of not ambitious? I do this week also want to kind of get the rest of my life together, continue my NaNoWriMo prep that I've been doing, and I guess we'll see what else happens. Thanks for coming along. I'll check in again when I've actually done some reading. So I have plenty of stuff that I should be doing tonight, including reading even. I could be reading. But instead, of course, what I'm doing is rearranging my bookshelves because, I mean, it needs to be done, but it doesn't actually need to be done right now. But now I've got empty bookshelves, so I guess it does need to be done right now because I keep tripping. I just tripped right then. I keep tripping over these piles of books that I've made. What a mess. I don't know. I'm questioning my ability to make sensible decisions about how I spend my time. But I've just seen so many videos lately about people talking about their rainbow shelves and not really liking them. And I've been frustrated with having my read books mixed up with my unread books. So I'm rearranging my shelves. And I am catching up. Well, you can't really see, but I am catching up on BookTube while I do it. So I can argue that's productive. Is it productive? I don't know. It's enjoyable. I'm having fun. That's the main thing. Okay, so I think I'm done with my impromptu bookshelf reorganization. It's probably not perfect, but I do like it a lot more than I liked my rainbow shelves, to be honest. I have all my Schwab together, all my Kate Daniels, all sorts of other series together. I also now have all my unread books together, which will make my TBR videos a lot easier to put together. I have this shelf, which is like my shelf of sadness and waiting. And I also managed to move my nonfiction books down to the bottom, which means I now have these 3 shelves empty, which I think I'm going to use as some kind of like makeup and like prettiness area. I don't know. Anyway, that's completely not what I meant to do tonight, but it's 8 o'clock. I guess I'm going to do some reading and I don't know what else tonight, but at least I got pretty shelves. Good morning. So it is Tuesday morning. Last night I got nearly halfway in Neverworld Wake. To be honest, I just wanted to stay up and keep reading this because I was really enjoying it. I think it got off to a bit of a strange start. Some of the writing, I just feel like the sentences are trying too hard to be fancy rather than just like say what's happening. But once it got into them being stuck in this time loop thing and uncovering a mystery about one of their friends' deaths, since then I've been really excited to find out what's going to happen. I wanted to stay up all night and just read, and I think I've decided that I'm going to save the rest of this for tomorrow when I'm having my infusion, but I really want to just sit down and read all of this instead of doing what's on my to-do list. But I do need to get to my to-do list today, including filming, which I'm about to do. Also, I rearranged my shelves last night, as I said, and then I just took off like 20 books for the tag that I'm about to film. So that's a mess again. Anyway, that's the problem with being a booktuber, is you have to keep destroying your shelves in order to make videos. As well, I've got about an hour left of Over Sea Under Stone. I keep forgetting which way around that goes. Now, it's okay. I do think in general I'm not a fan of the whole evil that's just evil because it's evil. I prefer my evil to have a bit more depth, but then again, this is like a middle grade series, so that's quite common in middle grade. Also, because it's similar to Narnia and A Wrinkle in Time, I thought it might be like undercover Christianity like those series are. But then I went and researched it, and I ended up falling down this internet hole of all these other religions that are kind of based on that good versus evil duality, which was really interesting, but not really anything to do with this book, except I don't think this is Christianity. In fact, some of the stuff I read was saying that this is anti-Christianity, but I didn't quite catch any of those comments that apparently say that that's what it is. Anyway, I'm not particularly attached to any religion, but I do find them really interesting. Also did read a review that said that this series gets better and better as it goes, so I will continue the series, but I do think it's just going to be a 3-star kind of read for me, which is a shame, because when someone recommends a book to you, you hope that you're going to really, really like it. But it's just okay. Sorry I didn't love it, Gemma, but I suspect this is the kind of book that if you read it when you were younger, you would be more attached to it. So when we figure out how to time travel, I'll go back and read it when I was younger. Anyway, I better go and do some filming. Oh, also last night, Jay Kristoff commented that he was about to take a Twitter break, and I noticed that it aligns with Victoria Schwab's Twitter break, and I am so hopeful that they are working on a book together. I commented something along the lines, and Jay Kristoff didn't deny it. So I'm going to live in hope that that's what's happening. Wouldn't it be awesome if they wrote a book together? Anyway, I've got to film and do stuff before I can let myself read. Hi, so I was going to film like in a different position than this, but then it got too late, and now this is really the only spot. To be honest, even though I have a whole house to myself, I pretty much spend 90% of my time in the spot on my desk doing stuff on the internet or on my computer. So today I did go to my infusion. It wasn't that eventful, although normally I try to book it like first thing in the morning, but this time because they were busy, I couldn't get my appointment until like 11 o'clock, which was quite annoying because it meant it took up quite a lot of the day, and also it meant I had to have lunch at the hospital, and they brought me this ham sandwich and this soup that wasn't really that great. But what they did also bring me is this orange juice that was my favorite orange juice when I was in the hospital for like an extended period when I first got sick with Crohn's. So it was nice to have that orange juice again. I know that when I was in the hospital for quite a long time, I found out that you could just like write ×2, or I think I wrote ×3 once, so that I got like 3 little pots of that orange juice. And also, like, if I didn't like anything on the menu, I'd just cross it out and write ham sandwich, and they'd bring me a ham sandwich. So I do recommend that if you're going to be in hospital for an extended period, trying to figure out what you can get away with when it comes to hacking the menu to get more of the things that you like. Because I know everybody complains about hospital food, but the hospital staff do want you to like your meals. So as long as the demands you're making aren't unrealistic and they can do it, then I think they normally will. Of course, crazy America, everything costs $1 million, so who knows how your system works. Oh, also, since I did have some time before my appointment, I finally found a place where I can park near the hospital without having to pay for hospital parking. And of course, they finally decided to make parking free for people getting their infusions. So I didn't need to do that after all, although it did mean I got quite a nice walk in the sunshine to the spot where I parked. So it wasn't all bad. And I haven't decided whether in the future I'll park in that nice spot or the hospital. It probably depends on the weather. Anyway, I should probably talk about reading since that's why we're here. So I didn't quite finish Neverworld Wake while I was in my infusion. I ran out of time, but then I did come home and have like a 3-hour bath. And so I finished it during that. And I'm really conflicted about how I feel about this book. There were parts that I really loved and like I couldn't put it down. I found the pacing was really good, but I also found that every time you felt like you knew the rules of the Neverworld, it changed on you. And I kind of just found that frustrating because I wanted to get into the mystery. I also felt like the mystery wasn't something you could figure out. And I kind of like mysteries to be something you can figure out ahead of it being revealed to you. And the way that it was told, it just seemed more like a trick. Also, the whole Neverworld Wake thing, like it was a really cool concept and I liked it, but the ending kind of made it feel a little bit Wizard of Oz is the least spoilerish thing I can say about it. If you've read Neverworld Wake, I'd love to know what you think about the ending. Do you think, like I think, that it kind of ruined the whole book? I don't know. I did enjoy reading this. I just feel like it was so close to being a 5-star, but there were a few things that just stopped it from getting there for me. Never mind. I am also about halfway through, you can't see that, Kabu Kabu by Nydia Okorafor. I mean, this is a short story anthology, and the problem is that just most of the short stories I'm not connected to the characters, and the storylines aren't particularly mind-blowing, so I don't really remember them. A lot of the times, the stories just end and the next one starts, and I don't even realize that we've moved on to a new story for a little bit because the ending was so anticlimactic. But there have been a couple of stories that I really liked, so that's kind of the saving grace. I'm about halfway, so I will continue and we'll see how many more of the stories I like. But so far, I think it's just been 2 that I really liked. Out of, I think about 6? I'm making that up. I have no idea what number of stories I've listened to so far. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm on the 9th story, and I've like 2 so far. It's not that great. Anyway, I'll keep listening to that. Also, I did stop by the library and pick up a couple of library books, and this book finally turned up. If you remember from my library hold list video I made a little while, this was in this really random state where it was like transit overdue and it was supposed to turn up months ago, and it just seemed to get lost in the system somehow. And then suddenly it said, hey, I'm ready for you to pick me up, which was weird. Also, it's not as big as I thought it was going to be, so that's good because I'm not really excited about reading this anymore, and these deckled edges are gonna piss me off big time. And like, is this ripped page meant to be ripped, or is that just because it's a library book? I don't know. The book before this, what was that even called? It must say in here, right? No, maybe it said on that ripped bit. Oh, Restore Me. Restore Me made me really angry when I read it because I just felt like it made no sense, and I was so annoyed at the way they kept telling her, we believe in you, you can be a leader, Juliet. But like Warner and whatever his name is, granddad guy, like they're the ones with leadership experience. You don't just tell someone, we believe you can be a leader. Like there's concrete things they need to know to be a leader. You don't just throw them in the deep end and say, well, you've got the potential to be a leader, you'll be fine. There's one scene where they tell her, oh, you haven't read your emails? Because they hadn't even told her that her emails were going to be there. Like, it just makes no sense, and it made me really angry. So I guess I will hate read this at some point. I kind of decided I didn't care about reading this anymore, but now I've got it. It's not that big. Maybe I'll give it a chance. We'll see. The other book that came I'm much more excited about, and that is Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. So this is about this cafe where you can travel through time while you're drinking the coffee at the cafe. I talked about it in my October new book releases and new discoveries. Basically, I heard Emma from Drinking by My Shelf talking about it, and it sounded really interesting. I love stuff with time travel stuff. So at some point, in a moment of weakness, I put a request for it in at the library, and it's come through. It's pretty short, so that's good because I don't need more thick library books at the moment. Anyway, I just talked way too much. I am going to try and read some more Death Note tonight before it becomes bedtime. So I'll see how far I get with that, and I will check in with you again tomorrow. Hi, so it's Friday morning. I'm about to head out, spend the day with Jason, and then tomorrow is going to be my last Pokemon Community Day with my brother before he moves to Australia. So the next couple of days, probably not going to get too much reading done. That's okay. I'm going to have some fun times. I also haven't got much reading done for the last couple of days. So I think on Wednesday night, I said I was going to read. Instead, what I ended up doing is installing this stupid cat game on my phone and staying up till 3 o'clock in the morning playing this cat game. I know that it's a waste of time, but unfortunately, that's my life now. I need to play this cat game. It's not helping with my productivity though, but I kind of feel like I just let myself have a couple of days of just being kind of blah, and maybe that's going to help me get back on track with being productive, because I feel like I've kind of been blah for the last few weeks, but I've kind of been in denial. So now that I've accepted it and just lived it, maybe we can now move on with our life. That's my plan. We'll see whether that actually comes to actuality or whether I'm just delusional, as always. I did manage to listen to a bit more of Kabu Kabu. There are some stories that I like, but for the most part, they just keep ending and I don't know what the point was. But I don't necessarily know that it's a problem with these stories. I think it's just that me and short stories don't go together that well. I do like the Windwalkers and the zombies that are in the book, and a couple of different stories, but the stories that don't have those tend to just disappear out of my brain as soon as I hear them. Anyway, that's all I have to update you on right now, and I will catch you again on Saturday probably. Little babies! They do make much littler splashes than the mama. Why are we on this maze? We can't see you very good on the video because the lighting's not very good. Pardon? Squeak, squeak. Oh, you can fly. You're very good. Oh, hello. You're very close. Do you think I'm going to feed you? Huh? Do you think you're going to get fed? I'm not feeding you, human. Boop, boop. Boop.
Duck Duck.
What? Is that his name?
Yeah, Duck Duck. That's the name I always make. Duck Duck. Duck Duck. It's a good one. Duck Duck.
Getting fed by your mama.
Duck Duck. Duck Duck.
Getting fed by your mama.
Duck Duck.
Good evening. So it's now Saturday night. I'm quite tired. So I'm going to go to bed, and I'm actually going to finally get to reading some more of Death Note. Hopefully today and tomorrow I can finish this whole series off. That's my plan. Honestly, what's happening with my eyes? Anyway, what happened so far? Friday we went exploring and we saw lots of little babies, which was lovely. But also we found this random secondhand shop that had like dinosaurs for some reason that weren't for sale. Anyway, what I got there is I picked up the first book of The Live Ship Traders by Robin Hobb. So this is the first book of the second trilogy in the realm of the Elderlings. I picked this up just for $2, so that is a pretty good price. I'm kind of thinking to myself that when the other Christine reads Hobbalong, the read-along of Robin Hobb books that she's doing, when that gets up to this book, I might try actually reading it physically, because so far all the Robin Hobb books I've just read on audiobook, which I really enjoy it that way, but it'll be interesting to try reading the physical book and seeing how the experience compares. These are really long books, so I don't know how I will fit that into my reading, but I don't think the Hobbalong will get to this for quite a while, because it's like, I think she's planning to do 2 months per book, because they are quite long books, so that's much more reasonable, which means that they won't get to the second trilogy for like 6 months. So I've got plenty of time to work out how I will fit this book into my reading, and then I'll have 2 months to read it. So yeah, I think I'm going to try and read the physical book, but that's like a plan for 6 months in the future, so we don't need to worry about it right now. Also, I did finish Kabu Kabu by Nedia Okorafor, and my opinions didn't really change. There were some stories in there that I really enjoyed, but overall, a lot of them just missed the mark for me. And because it's an audiobook, there isn't really a big gap between the stories, so I didn't always know when a new story was starting. A lot of the themes were similar, so it all kind of blurred together. And I don't know. I just don't think short story anthologies are for me unless every single story is like mind-blowing, which, when does that ever happen? Never, I don't think. Anyway, I better get to reading Death Note, or otherwise I'm just going to fall asleep and not get any read. And then tomorrow I will try to read some more of this. And then I'll see you then. Good morning. So it is actually Monday now, and I thought I better finish up this vlog. I was going to do it yesterday once I finished reading Death Note, but I didn't quite make it, and when I finished the 11th one, the second to last one, it was too late and I just wanted to go to sleep. So I did, and I thought maybe I would finally learn my lesson about going to bed early, especially on Sunday, because I feel like if I stay up late on Sunday, I just ruin the whole week for myself. So I'm trying to actually learn from my mistakes. It's a novel concept. Anyway, I did manage to yesterday read 3 volumes of Death Note, and I think I've actually figured out what's up with this series in terms of my enjoyment. What happens is I really like the bits when Light has some convoluted scheme going on and he's like scamming everybody, but every time he pulls off a big scheme and he's in a really good position, things kind of have to go shit for him for a while and he has to lose control. And so the bits where that happens I don't tend to enjoy as much, but it does set up for the next big scheme that I will enjoy. So this one, I think 9 was kind of setting up for the big scheme, so I didn't enjoy 9 as much, but 10 and 11 have got better and better, and I think the finale is going to be awesome. So I will be reading the final book next week. I'll fit it into Spookathon, even though I didn't plan it for Spookathon. It won't take me that long to read, and I'm excited to finish the series off. So there's that. I did also this week finish off Neverworld Wake, which I've talked about. So this was my physical reading for the week, which I don't think is too bad. I mean, this is all manga, so it's pretty easy, but at least I enjoyed most of it, which is good. Audiobooks, not as much. So the only ones I listened to was Oversea and Understoned by Susan Cooper, and then Kabu Kabu by Nedia Okorafor. I never ended up getting to The Vanishing Stair by Maureen Johnson like I was hoping to, and Libby has started getting very passive aggressive with me, suggesting that maybe I should put some of my holds, suspend some of my holds so that I don't have so many audiobooks to read. Like, just go away, Libby. Let me live my life how I want to live it. But anyway, I did read 2 audiobooks. I didn't really like them that much. Like, they were both okay, but they weren't my favorites. And that's fine. Like, that's kind of what I use audiobooks for, is to listen to books that I'm not as sure I'm going to like as the physical books that I'm reading. Just because audiobooks are a little bit easier to find time for. Although I will say yesterday, since I didn't want to start my Spookathon audiobook yet, I just listened to music while I was out and about walking and driving, and it was actually really nice. And yesterday the sun was out, it was a beautiful day, so I was walking around listening to music, and it made me feel real happy. So I think I do need to get my audiobooks under control. Maybe Libby's got a point. But I also want to read all the books, so I don't know what I'm doing with my life. Anyway, right now we're back to shitsville weather, so enjoying myself in the sunshine listening to music is not going to happen anyway. Maybe when the summer comes back we'll try and do more of that. Anyway, so that was my reading week. I think it was okay. I really enjoyed the couple of days of sunny weather and all the baby birds, so it was a good week. Even though there were a few blur days, overall I enjoyed it. Thanks for hanging out with me. If you've watched this far, I hope that you're having a wonderful week and that your next week will also be great. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.